Hey, Jason Rice here, Lotpop, and kind of do a little bit of a little recap what's going on right now at dealerships and stuff. Going to give it a little bit of time for some build up here, but I'm going to start out saying, and I'll wrap it up too. Going to be heading to NADA, and I think there's going to be a lot of mixed emotions about what 2019 is going to look like. But let's pull this over here. I can tell you what's going on right now. Right now, it's a little bit slow for a lot of dealerships. I see a lot of comments online, people struggling, salespeople not getting the units they thought, a little bit off pace for a lot of dealers. Some dealers are performing well if they're new to trying to get things up and going. But here's what's happening. You run into obviously the end of the year. You haven't had the tax season yet, so a lot of the holiday people is still crashing from the holiday spin, and then they haven't gotten to tax return yet to be driving that traffic. So we're in limbo land. And the reason why I say trades are going to be tough going into the next couple months is we're in, depending on the franchise, some have and the size of your dealership, but we're a little bit of a limbo with new cars, meaning the 18s have kind of been flushed out, and they will be over the next 30 days. So right now, there's a lot of people looking for specific 18s, and those deals and dealer trades are happening. So if you don't have a ton of 18s, it's going to be slow. And then the 19s are coming in, but there's not a ton of incentives on it to drive new car business. So trades are going to be tough. And right now, things are a little bit slow. So people are getting more aggressive with their pricing just to try to stir the pot. But we end up having a lot of cars, and especially maybe trades that we're buried in, that we end up in December, maybe stepping up on some deals to make the end of the year strong and December better, that last half of December. So we got a lot of vehicles in our inventory right now that we probably own a little bit higher than we would like. We end up having to get slow, so we get more aggressive with the pricing, and then grosses get a little bit tighter. New car trades aren't coming in as much because the 18s are kind of flushed out. 19s don't have the big incentives yet. And so we're kind of in this little bit of a limbo land. And really, if you think about it, like all the 15 leases are already turned in, and you might start seeing, hey, Jay, we're just talking about this on our meeting, and might start seeing 16s start coming into the market. 3 years ago, right? 16s were being leased. So and a lot of that happens in the summer selling season and stuff where the incentives and the push are big. But if dealers are data mining and consumers are researching 3 to 6 months out from their lease being terminated, they're already active right now and maybe looking for alternatives. So right now we're getting a lot of shoppers, both for two reasons. Maybe the leasing people looking ahead, maybe looking at getting out 3 to 6 months early if possible, or looking at what options they want to do in 6 months from now when their lease is up. And you're getting a lot of people shopping right now because of tax season, but they're not ready to pull the trigger yet because they don't have their check and don't have everything in line yet. So again, right now we're just in that little bit of a limbo area. It's pretty much a seasonal thing. But one of the things that we do see as common is we do see a big uptick in shopper counts. If you look at like Auto Trader back in, you can see shopper count activity is up in January, and it usually is. February gets higher, and then March also is a strong shopper count month. So you're starting, again, get to see engagement. But what you really got to do with trades being tough, you got to make sure that trade process is right, because you don't want to have to go to the lane and start buying cars, especially over the next 45 days and in the next 60 days when tax season's hitting and February, March cars are selling. It's going to be hard to get a hold of cars. And so you do have to make sure your trade process is right. But the dang thing is new cars will kind of be a little soft as that transition from 18 to 19s are happening. Again, depends on your franchise. I was just talking to high volume, Honda store. They still have about 318s left. But what that's doing too is I do think there's some seasonal tracking and trending you want to look at and pay attention to for your years. And what I mean by that, and again, it's specifically this Honda store that does a pretty good volume and a lot of leasing. Their used 17s and 18s are sitting, and but they're getting all these influxes of like loaner cars in and things in 17, 18s into their inventory, but they're sitting because somebody can buy or lease a new 18 cheaper than buying the 17, 18 used. So your late model, especially 18s, are gonna have to get pretty aggressive. That goes back into, a lot of dealers at the end of the year had to buy out those loaner cars and things like that, transition them. The OEMs force you to buy these vehicles because they're not dumb. They don't want to be stuck with them either. They're pushed into the market, but yet you've got these late models that you got to compete with these new cars. And so that you own pretty high. So these things are taking a chunk of a lot of dealers' inventory. We own them high, but we got to price them aggressive if we want to move them. If not, we're sitting on them. So I do think that from October, where end of the model year starts happening, till probably February, 17s and 18s are going to be tough to sell. Going into next year, it's going to be 18s and 19s, October to January. So those months, I would transition a lot of my inventory to the 16s, the 3 to year and older vehicles that are a lot cheaper, that it's harder for those cars are cheaper and they don't necessarily have to compete with the newer cars. But when you have a 17 and 18 on your lot right now, a used one, or maybe even a 19 used, they're going to be tough to sell as this transition of new car limbo is happening. So again, I think after that clears out, after about February, after those 18s are cleared out, dealers are cashed out on them, those 17s and 18s might be appealing because the 19s don't have the incentives yet. But yet July, August, or September, that summer selling season, you almost got to back out of those late models because they're going to be a big incentive to push these new cars out. And now your late models are going to be frozen up again. So I think you have a couple month window from February to March that the 17s and 18s, or February to in March and April and May, that those 17, 18s might be appealing. Customers might be still trying to find a deal on 18s. They finally settle, you know what, I'll just buy a used one type of scenario. So pay attention to the years and how they fluctuate with new cars, and, transition your inventory different to handle that flow too. So dealers are slow right now. Everybody's kind of slow. A lot of dealers are heading to NADA. We'll get in that in a second. Trades are going to be tough because of all this. If new cars isn't picking up yet because of this transition, you got, a dozen or a handful of 100 or so 18s, but even 2 or 3 times more 19s, you're not going to have that big volume yet because people aren't pulling the trigger on 19s. Incentives aren't there. So you're going to have to make your trade-in process right, because if not, that forces you to go to lane and buy cars. And that's where everybody scrambles in February and March trying to buy cars, and they can't because everybody's in that situation and volume's up on used cars with tax season. It's just a mess. So hopefully your inventory is clean going into this. Make sure your trade-in process is right. And then NADA, again, I'm going to be heading there. Been blessed. I'm going to do a couple live, Frank Lopes live on Saturday. Going to do a CBT News live. Sit down with Dennis McGinn from Rapid Recon, talk about turnaround time and the importance of that. So we'll be busy with that. Also looking with some other companies and partnerships and stuff, so we'll be tied up with some of those things. But definitely like to get together. If you're not going but want me to check something out and get my opinion on it, hit me up in messaging here, and I'll definitely check it out and get back with you on what I think on some of the products you might be interested in if you're not attending. But hope this tips were helpful. Again, not to give any excuses, but it's just that kind of limbo time. And if you're clean, you'll be able to, experiment a little bit in your pricing and how you're carrying and what you're carrying, and trades being light, but you got some purchases. If you're clean, you're going to be okay to get through this. If you're aged, if you have a big aging problem, things are bleeding through because of a slow December, January, man, you're going to have to scramble because it's going to be tough in February and March. Hit me up at lotpop.com, jrice at lotpop.com. All these tips go into YouTube. Hey, see you there, Jake. All these tips go up on the YouTube. Please subscribe there. All those tips go also on to podcasts, so iTunes or anything like that. You can listen to these. And again, hit me up for a free inventory evaluation on lotpop.com and Lotpop University. Lotpop.university.com. I'm going to be starting 2-week workshops, entrenching managers into inventory management. And again, it's going to be a small setting, and we're going to be able to pull up individual dealers, inventory and appraisals, and a big university. More stuff coming, but check out Lotpop University. Call it Lotpop U. Again, hopefully this is helpful.